Hi everyone, thank you very much for watching either online stream or recorded this series of online performances, Geopoetics Inheritance, initiated by artist, filmmaker and ethnomusicologist Mukaddas Mijit. My name is Elena Ishchenko. I am part of curatorial duo League of Tenders, and together with my friend and colleague Maria Sarycheva, we are curators of the International Nomadic Program for 2024-2025 of Vleeshal Center of Contemporary Art in Middelburg, Netherlands. This project is part of the nomadic and digital programs of the Vleeshal, as well as a side program of the exhibition Tatar Kiss, which is now on display until December 14th. Vleeshal is a center for contemporary art in Middelburg, recognized for versatile, vibrant, and vital projects presented both within the walls of its unique Gothic exhibition space and beyond, including online with international and local and nomadic programs, educational and public programs. The entire project, Geopoetics by Mukaddas Mijit, was initiated as part of the second season of the International Nomadic Program, Repetition is a Form of Changing. It was entitled Safe and Sound, and you can find the project commission within this program on the website of Narrow Editions magazine. And now artist Mukaddas Mijit is developing Geopoetics into a series of 3 online live performances with Uyghur artists from diaspora residing all over the globe. Geopoetics is a liminal space, neither homeland nor adopted territory, but an ephemeral geography born from shared memory and temporal connections. The project unfolds as an exploration of nostalgia, where longing for a distant home collides with the immediacy of the present. Each session unfolds as an encounter, a conversation between voices, art forms, and generations, where trauma becomes language and inheritance becomes creation. This chapter of the project deepened the inquiry into the question of inheritance. What passes from one body to another, from one generation to next? Mukaddas takes her personal experience of motherhood as both a starting point and a new foundation, an experience that profoundly shifts one's perception of the world, as well as the trajectory of creative practice. Mukaddas Mijit asks, quote, "I now look at my daughter and wonder, what does she inherit from me beyond profound affection? Does she also inherit my trauma as a Uyghur woman, as someone who carries the weight of displacement and historical violence? How can I equip her with tools to face, receive, and transform this part of her heritage, not as a burden, but as knowledge and strength?" End of the quote. The very first session of Geopoetics Inheritance that we'll see today is entitled Poetics of the Motherland. For those living in diaspora, the bond with motherland is marked by the ambiguous loss of one's motherland. This session focuses on a collaborative project of 3 Uyghur women and artists, Leyla, Sonya Imin, and Yazi Ilminur Hemit, and consists of performance and spoken poetry combined with archival video material from the Uyghur homeland. And before we'll start, I want to read the short biographies of the participants, despite some of them are anonymous. Leyla is a Uyghur photographer whose work explored the subtle poetry of everyday life. Through attentive observation and inquiry-based visual practice, she examines memory and the relationship between people and place. Her images move between documentation and imagination, investigating belonging and home through layered visual forms. Sonya Imin is a Uyghur-American artist and scholar. Her work is interdisciplinary, spanning sculpture, performance, and moving image. Having grown up between the borderlands of the Uyghur homelands, broader Central Asia, and the Midwestern United States, interrogations of belonging, home, and displacement influenced the nature of her work. She was being particularly interested in exploring the somatic experience of memory, interrogating the delineations of the disembodied identity, and excavations of collective consciousness through ancestral landscapes. Yazi Ilminur Hemit is a poet who started her slam journey in the Gambia after she gained conditional freedom And since then, poetry has become the vessel of her nomadic memories, spanning 4 continents and a dozen towns. She is doing her master studies in Uyghur studies, focusing on Uyghur music and storytelling culture. So the floor is for this amazing artist, and after their performance, we invite you to stay for a discussion between Mukaddas Mijit, Sonya Imin, and Yazi Ilminur Hemit. You can leave your questions on the YouTube page, and they will answer them after the performance. Enjoy!
Tamlanın zıvanı var. Tamlanın kulağı var. Zıvanımızı yıksaklan buldu. Töşük yuşurumdan nömücüktek. Korkunç, tün karanguda, tünsüz, tor tokumakta. Yaş bombu gözlerini humar, burunlarını meynet. Gallarını kuruk kılgan bolsa, korkunç. Korkunç. Ve korkunç. Dilenlerimiz, çiğimiz, yerimiz ve tenlerimiz bilen can güzel. Hatta musafir. Biz musafir. Sen ve ben musafir. Sen ve ben musafir. Be water, my friend. My colonizer said. So I walked to water whenever I was in despair. And I asked myself, what would be out there if I kept walking? So I walked, and I walked. I walked to rivers, I walked to oceans, and I walked to mountains. Until I found myself on the other side of the planet. Let go. It was 8 years ago. Your land is misrepresented. Look, everyone is dancing and chanting and welcoming. Wow! Your land is heavenly like paradise. My colonizer also says. I thought I just loved traveling. I thought I was traveling. I was traveling. No, I was. I swear I was. So I could be anywhere. I am saying I am everywhere. Born nomad, grasping the pieces of mother's home calling, yet mostly trying to get away from it. I got away from it. I did get away from it. What is it? What is it? What was it that I tried and did get away from? Mother's home calling? Mother's home calling or mother's pain? Mother's pain. Oh, pain, mother. My mother. Appa. Appam. Anam. Ana. Anam. Canım anam. Benim. Canım anam.天下莫柔弱于水，而攻坚强者莫之能胜。一其无以易之。弱之胜强，柔之胜刚，天下莫不知，莫能行。Qinimiz xuddi atgan choyga damlagan qora choydek tursa, usullarimiz manqurtqullarning qonsiz vujudiga tomchi suv tursa, atlas hech bo'lmasa qizil bayroqqa bo'yalgan tog' bag'rida guldasta to'qsa, Hasan Musan ularning soğuk ve körümsüz semont binalarının üstüden össe, Tälk dağları özünü əsrlərdən beri pırap gelgen aş göz nəpəslərə qar yağmağını ayısa, kimde qinimiz tökülgen zimin, toğraqның beyğubari boyalgan zimin, biz iz basqan zimin, sənət bəru sənubərinin dutari və şuari bezigen tursa, zvanımız, bizning qoralımız tursa, qo'yib ber. Ovozingni qo'yib ber to'la. Quyaş ilham şu yerde. Cemaat quyaş bilen bille. Hakikat birliğin emas. G'oya birliğin emas. Hatta ular basqan pullami birliğin emas. Terimiz birliğin emas. Ruhimiz birlik korkunç emas. Korkma. Sen korkma, biz ketermiz öz yurtumuzga, yurtumuzga. Korkma. Be water. Korkma. Be water. Korkma. Live in it. Korkma. Be water. Biz giderimiz öz yurtumuzga.
Rahmat. Sonya Ilminur, thank you so much. It was so emotional and so beautiful. And thank you so much for being here. So maybe we should take a bit. Do you need some break? Are you okay to just jump in? Yes?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm still. Yeah.
Have some water. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for accepting this invitation, and also the challenge to be collaborating from different spaces, because that's our reality, and we based in different places, in different spaces. We have our own lives, and then we have our own daily life, business, studies, and PhDs, and it's kind of, it feels really right and nice to actually find ways to connect, even though we live across the globe, and still be able to have some kind of maintain this energy of like create together. So, and I really like how you brought to what you brought to the table, and the movements, the earth, and also the poetry, and the whole performance was so. It came from very deep places, and I just want to share one anecdote. It goes to our dear friend Lisa Ross. When she went back to the homeland for the last time, she brought back 3 small tube of earth from Urumqi, from Turpan and Khotan. That was the last thing that I have from Ratan. So, Sonya, thank you for bringing that earth element to it. So this is like a very informal conversation, and I would like to just have your thoughts for how you work together for this entire performance project, and how you brought together different elements. If you can share a little bit of your own experience and your own thoughts.
Yeah, I love the story that you shared about Lisa, because that's something that I actually remember doing when I was a kid. There's this Vleeshal Center, like this primary school, and I remember gathering rocks from the playground, and I still have them somewhere at my parents' place. And I think there is something about soil and about earth that connects us to a place. And this idea of disembodied soil, of soil that is removed from where it belongs and taken to a different place. I think there's something that's interesting that happened in this piece that sort of meditates on that a bit. But just to speak on my component on the performance aspect, this was actually kind of like a continuation or reiteration of something that a similar idea that I had as kind of a different performance that I did in 2020. And this was when I had just moved to Turkey, and it was a major life change for me. And there was something about me going back to Turkey as kind of this in-between place between the United States and Vatan, and was doing a lot of reflection around place and return, and what does it mean to return to a place that you can't really go back to, and what are the sort of middle places, or these different ways that you can kind of touch or sense that feeling of like expressing that desire of place. And place is something that's like very concrete, but also ambiguous at the same time. Like I feel like I can be in someplace really random, but then I'll have a certain smell or be around a certain kind of people, and I'm completely transported to a different kind of place. And so kind of what I wanted to bring in with this performance aspect was a little bit of that sort of sense of transience, of displacement, through earth, but also through bodies, and how our bodies are sort of, and our bodily memories and these things that are embedded in sort of a very subconscious place can still be little bridges in a way. And I think there's a collective component to this project too, is working with Ilminur and Leyla, that together, even though we've had very different experiences, that in collaborating through this process, those memories, those really different ways of expressing and connecting, what was really manifest, because I think previously I had thought about this project or done things in as an individual like performance, but to be able to do this, especially with Ilminor and working with her on the script these last couple weeks, is just really brought like different layers of engagement and in meaning and discovery, that I felt like was really incredible. And the conversations that we've had with doing the script was also really, yeah, it was just a really cool project, and I was really pleasantly surprised about the about how these different layers would continue to unveil. And so I don't know, Ilminor, if you have other things to say about the poetry aspect?
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me. It's really cool project to be part of. The poetry part, I actually wrote a monologue first from my living experience. But I wasn't sure if I was writing for the project. I wasn't like, if that works. If it doesn't, we'll do something else. I had to write that out. It was just in my chest. But the more I get to understand what Sonya is gonna do, or what's the video is about, I cannot see that works, but there was one sentence, I don't remember which was it, kind of stayed. And then when I did that, we're just like talking with Sonya, and I just realized, because like when you have a new thing to write about, you want to write a new thing. You don't want to use your old stuff, right? But at that point, I'm like, it goes with my personal life experience, but also with our diaspora, right? Because the script of what Sonya is going to do, this idea of deconstructing what I wrote over the 3 years, and I didn't like went with the mindset that I'm gonna pick different cities. It's more like we went with the performance logic, like what we're gonna do, and I just started to play around with all of my written poetry, and of course sent some to you, to Sonya, to Leyla, and then we just like everything just kind of gradually clicked.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, I thought all of my poetry was written in Paris, in one city, but it actually turned out it was written in 3 continents.
I mean, that's good that you brought up this, like decomposing your existed works. I think in a sense you write poetry from such a personal place, even though you're like writing something far away or general, but it's like your own. I know that you write about yourself and then what you saw and then what you experienced. So I mean, all these poetries, even though they're written for different theme or different, it tackles different issues, but they're still talking about you. I think the core of this deconstruction also is like now how I look at this performance is like we can still see you, and it's like so strong and so solid, like. So I really like how you put different languages as well, because it's from your own story. That's who you are, your education, like it's also part of who we are, as people who went through school in Vatan. Like we had this dual or triangle languages that we had, like we speak multiple languages, and then it's beautifully brought into this performance. I think it's like it gives a very it's personal, but at the same time it resonates for like lots of us, and which are like the bigger diaspora and people who are spread across the world. Maybe I would also encourage people who are watching us online to send us questions if you have any questions, like if you want to share something. I know that there's Kashgar Galaxy sent us a comment. She said, "Biz öz yurtumuzga qaytımız." Biz öz yurtumuzga qaytımız, which means we will go back to where we came from. We'll go back to our homeland. So that's also something that will that all will always connect every Uyghurs in the diaspora, and it's like one place that we share. It's the idea of home and that idea of we will one day come back and then we will um get our age like our homeland back, like get our like how own that idea of culture, that the idea of place, that spaces that are like eventually belongs to us, like so this is also keep continuing creative works and keep continuing poetry outside of the homeland. It's also something very, very important personally for me, and also I know that it's also important for you as artists, and so it's very important for us as a community. I think the poetry, the creativity, it's something that holds us together when there's nothing else really like can work, if there's no hope and then there's things are getting really dark, but the one space that we can all connect is creativity, poetry. I think that's somewhere that is really beautifully come together in this piece. And all our thoughts also goes to Leyla, of course, with her beautiful images, because yeah, those images, even though those images are already changed so much. I mean, that's not the Kashgar that I knew when I was there in 2005 and 2008. It's like it changed so much, so much. And if I go back, I think I could get lost. But there's something in those images, like the faces and the bodies, the movements, and then she did a really great job to really even bring back some smells, like some tastes with the rap and everything, and it's like it it's really and I'm so happy that we can still work with images from home, some archival work, like images. And I think it's important for us to keep working, keep producing, and keep being creative.
Yeah, and I think there's something important about those images too, because like who knows if we're ever going to be able to see it with our own eyes, like all of our access is different. And so we kind of, our only encounter is through the images of other people, right? These places that we haven't gone to ourselves. And so it's like, again, like a place of bridge or creating these new memories, but through this vicarious way, this way that's mediated by all these different sort of gazes.
Yeah,
Sorry. Go ahead.
It's also I see there's a question about the Chinese, but I want to continue on that. I am obsessed with how in dictator countries all across the globe, how people get creative when there's when there's like zero freedom speech, like where there's like a restriction, very like life, like could take your life kind of like serious restriction, and you still want to express. I mean, at the moment we're living in hopefully like free world. Hopefully it continues, but what about back home? There are like tons of artists back home, and they're still creating, and they have to face that reality of whatever going on, everything going on back home, and they're still creating. And there's this another level of intellect and creativity and also courage to find ways around that restriction and be able to deliver the message. I'm completely obsessed with how people do that. And I think we really should learn from them, because we are living in a free world. If they could do that with everything going on, what's our excuse? I mean, it's hard for our diaspora to live in diaspora. I'm not invalidating that, but if we have any privilege, any resources to create, we should absolutely learn from them.
So on that, there's a question about like what is the Chinese poem is about, like what does it say, and what about the Uyghur ones?
So it's Be Water, My Friend. It comes from Li Xiaolong's famous coda, but I did a little research on it. Apparently, it came from a classical poetry of Lao Tzu. I think it's not a direct code. It's the idea of water can be both strong and like very soft and like integrate in everywhere. It showed up in several places, several contexts, several different books in classical Chinese literature. So he kind of took that the whole philosophy and just simplified it with English. Be water, my friend, and that's how it got spread. So I decided to use this the origin, one of the original, where it basically says like water can be strong and I'm sorry if I'm not like complete like delivering the exact, because I didn't, it's not my focus, you know. To say, first of all, we love the idea of throwing some Chinese into it, because that's our reality, that's most of our population's reality. They have to speak that language to survive. And then there's also this flipping the script kind of approach to this, because this, I'm not saying Laozi is our colonizer, but are more of like context. The same context that says "be water, my friend," and to tell us we can be as strong as water and go around like rocks on the mountains, you know, go everywhere. It also the same context that let us be submissive like water, to listen, to integrate, to assimilate, to disappear. Hopefully, from there they're desperately they're trying everything to do that. So that's why I put this original text, and then at the end, this is something we came up with, like Sonya, or inspired by our conversation, Sonya. Like I kind of put the korkma, which is don't be afraid, don't be scared, like equivalent to be water. Like I didn't want to translate it, don't be scared, that's, you know, nothing. But like to bring to a concept to say you can be as like water, as strong like water, and as soft as water. And that means in Uyghur, like just don't
Resilient
be scared.
as water, yeah.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
essential as water, because water is very important for life.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
for
hope
Himir, and also what Sonya was doing, like to mix things up, you know, like to create something new and do something with our hands, like it's something that holds together invisibly, you know, like different elements, different materials, and then it's also something
Then
really
also to cleanse and separate it out again, right? And so these things that we feel like are embedded and like stuck together, also we can, in this sort of decolonial process, deconstruction process, it can also cleanse us and remind us of who we really are, like take us back.
I think there's one last question, and then we can wrap up. And I think I don't know who asked that question. Was the performance itself improvised? So organically bringing everything together and seeing what happens, or was there practices practice runs, and if so, did those practice runs reveal something interesting? I don't know who asked that question, but
Yeah. It was not improvised actually. There was a script, a loose script, like a sort of gestural script. It was divided into 5 different sections, and there were going to be certain actions that happened in each of these 5 acts. And each of them sort of symbolized something. It was this sort of, for example, the preparation, like this stage of preparing for travel or preparing for movement, preparing to be uprooted or whatever it is, like packing up yourself in a way. Then there's the cut, right? Like when you are separated or disconnected or when there's a rupture of some sort. And then the sort of the making of the clay, right? Like when we as disconnected or disembodied people, or not disembodied, but just like displaced, right? In displacement, we enter into new soils, new lands. And what does it mean to try to integrate or to make something new? And the pain of that process and the difficulty of that process of engaging into a new soil. And is it really new soil or is it old soil? Like this question of bodies in soil, bodies in place. And then the process of kind of cleansing ourselves from that or like deconstructing those things and like this process of I think especially as Uyghur people or anybody really there's a process of sort of self-awareness and deconstructing and what does it mean to be aware of who you are and where you've come from and then the alchemy of that process, right? Like at the end there's this circle that happens that's basically it's made out of my hair that I cut was in the soil and then removed from it. And then so this process of displacement and then this relationship with soil, relationship with place, whether it's the homeland or a new land, and how all of that can really alchemize into something beautiful. And that's kind of like what this project is.
Geopoetics, yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're creating some sort of poetry. We're creating an art out of like displacement and difficulty. And so with these sort of concepts together, then Ilminur and I had conversations about the poetry and what each act represented and sort of collected old pieces, but then also integrated new ideas to sort of create the poetry, the sound component of that. And then also wanting this Leyla's video to be in there as well. So a conversation with the three of our works at the end as sort of, because these memories, this land, like it was also important, I think, for us to have some sort of, again, like visual representation of what it is the site of disconnection or disconnection from.
Yeah. It's yes.
Sorry, you go.
So I mean when we started this idea of geopoetics, I mean geopoetics, it means to create something, be creative, like creating something, creating some kind of new poetry, new territory, and I mean, so like everything that you put together in this performance, it's like really using this idea of using some existent materials and then to create some new spaces, and then it's also like connects us to the past, to homeland, to each other, and then in like to different materiality, to different reality, and to different geography even.
Before, sorry, I don't. Before there, I see there's a question, but before we jump to the next one, I want to add something. I don't without invalidating Sanya's preparation. She puts a lot of work into this, and my work is like I'm very much guided by both of you in this, because words can you can write whatever, like you can write for pages, right? But I think to answer the question, I think it also depends on how you define improvisation. I think everyone has different approach to it, and in this specific performance, I definitely believe there's a big chunk of improvisation spirit in it, because even if you're like improvised performance artist, like very accomplished, internationally recognized, you don't just go on stage and do whatever you want. It's impossible. You put, if you're like, I mean, there's no way you can be an artist without taking your work seriously. If your work about your work serious, if you're serious about your work, you would have this process of preparation in any kind. And Sonya, of course, did that absolutely amazing. But when we, as I said, when we create this, it's the improvisation process. Like for me, even you didn't ask for like the improvisation of poetry. There was like, especially when
You're part of the project. You're part of the performance. So it's
Yeah.
about your as well.
There was for me but Sonya, but probably, but when we prepare for this, there was absolutely a lot of like improvisation, like conversation with each other, and like playing ping pong, and that's how this is formed. It's not like I wrote everything here, everything is perfect, and Sonya, everything's perfect, let's do it. No, it's not that. Like there's definitely a process of and both preparing, yes,
and the rhythm between and the energy that we
Yeah.
exchange with your words and my movements. I feel like we practiced this a couple times before. And I feel like every time it kind of has a different version of itself, right? And I think that's kind of beautiful because what we saw here and what we experience here today can never be recreated in the same way. Even if we did the same actions or you said the same words, there is an element of we need to be in sync with each other, and things are going to feel a little bit different, and like accent on different words, and then movement, like it's not going to be the complete same every time.
I mean, that's how like the whole Geopoetics project started. I mean, Elena and Maria, they came to me to say like, please create a score so performers can, like artists can perform. I was like, how can I like create a score? So I mean, this is like a score, and then you put some ideas and then you work together, and then like the improvisation and the rehearsal and everything is happen in this framework. And I mean, of course, everything, you're not here like doing this kind of work just today. You're like established artists. So I mean, there's this whole history of like why you're doing this today and for what reason and where it came from. So yeah, I mean, you took liberty about in within the score, and it can be considered as improvisation, but there's also something that very like it's a process, it's a part of the work, and it's how these kind of works come together. And I think I will just read this last question actually from Elena. So she's asking, how do you keep the connection with your motherland, and what helps you, and both symbolically and staying updated?
Go for it.
This is when I left, like when I decided to leave China, I left with the intention, with a very I wouldn't say voluntary choice, but a decision upon a forced context situation, that I will leave, and I will leave the truth, like without all the colonizers' lies. It was a choice, but that doesn't, we just kind of I'm not sure if I should lay lost, but like the actual physical land is not with us. I had a massive grief moment when I realized the land like is gone from me. But that doesn't mean like you have huge amount of things to play around with that. And when you realize, like, I think it's a very, I'm not trying to blame anyone, but it's kind of like a forced victimhood mentality, that we are here, we cannot do anything. That's not true. Like, you have tremendous amount of people doing the grassroots work of like for example, look at like the YouTube channel Uyghur Beauty, right? Like a lot of people doing that kind of work for like nothing. Like after they, I'm gonna have to quote from one of my professors. a lot of people doing that work, like having to deal with their like surviving and raising kids and all, you know. So there's a lot of things to we can use. And if I like the part that how do I keep updated, I try not to like fall into rabbit holes because I have more responsibility. I as I started my like it's not like before I'm just like, you know, living my life and paying my bills. But I spend a huge amount of time on Chinese social media because I spoke the language for most of my life, and again, like as I mentioned, they're like I'm just every time I see it, I'm just like, of course, there's a moment like angry, like what's happening, like I'm like what why is that like, but most of the time I'm just like happy because like look at like WeChat chat like real channels. Look at Red Note. People are like getting creative. They're doing like like practicing instrument. Yeah, I think it's just I can say very easy for me to stay connected to my land and stay updated.
Sonya, go ahead. Do you want to?
Yeah, I feel like the way that I stay connected is through people. I think, like, for example, the people in this room, other people, like, I feel like when I am able to spend time around other Uyghurs where I feel seen as an Uyghur person, my experience as an Uyghur person is validated because it doesn't always feel validated just because of my specific life experience. But I think that's what makes me feel really connected to place is through people. I also feel really connected through my work because I feel like the energy that I am doing and like the whatever sort of um, skills or talents or whatever sort of perspective I have to offer in the world, like all of us, no matter what we do, like we are channeling our time and our energy into something. And so I find like a tremendous amount of meaning in being able to, and I also an immense amount of privilege to be able to dedicate time and energy towards certain towards what I do, like in my research or creative work or whatever else it is, and to sort of like expand, I guess, like a little bit of representation of who we are and just like, I don't know, just contributing to representation, like whatever that means, but like in the sense of like adding a little bit of like nuance and contribution and being able to spend time and remain connected. And a lot of it's for myself as someone in diaspora who is in disconnection, but also someone that like to be with community and to be involved in this kind of work is personally meaningful, but also I feel like has collective meaning as well.
Just to share a little bit my perspective, I feel so like most of the time I feel so disconnected because I feel like lots of things that I experienced, that I saw, that I loved, you know, like is already not there. But and also at the same time I feel so connected because they still live in my memories. So I mean, I have my head, I have my memories, and I also have my archives, you know, like I was looking at the other day some videos that I took in 2003, 2005, you know, like I was looking at those images and I was like, oh, this is so precious. And then I have all this, and then this is something that I feel connected to. Of course, it's not real, not today, but I feel like there's something that will always keep me connected because I'm from there. I'm like I'm from I was made by the soil and water of that place, so I still carry something of my homeland with me and remind myself that I have left heart like half of my heart there, so it's like some kind of connections that I have. And through all the stories that I want to tell and also all this kind of projects that I really love making, and I find like, as Sonia was saying, that I felt connected to these people that I'm working with. So, I mean, that's also something really, really like important and helpful. I think there's a few questions coming in. Oh, hi, Joyce. So regarding the performance and the idea of geopoetics, how do you reconcile the ephemerality of the word and performance with the imperative to create, record, and remember as a diaspora?
That's a tough one.
Yes.
My
Um,
IELTS English like mode is back.
I mean, I feel like there is something, but I don't know if there is an imperative to create records, you know, because I think there is like a little bit of a power thing when it comes to like what gets recorded by whom and for what, right? And actually, and memory is a record in a way. It's like a personal record. It's a very, memory is like an individual record that's incredibly fragile and incredibly ephemeral, but it doesn't, but it is, but there is an immense power. Like the power of memory, like changes worlds. It's what starts and ends wars. It's what creates love and creates life, right? It's like memories. And I think there's something around performance art and about geopoetics and these kind of works where you're required, necessitated to be in the moment because you're not going to be able to like, read on it later. Like the importance and like the meaning of this type of thing is like as the audience member or not audience, but like as the witness of this, you are co-partaking and co-participating in this. Like we're not here just sort of like on our screens doing something kind of random. Like we are doing something in correspondence and relationship to with you and sort of creating this collective memory, this like that only people who are seeing this now in this moment will really be able to like capture, right? So I think there is this is getting a little bit meta, but I think there is something there about like the like there's I think beauty and like an immense power in memory and the ephemerality of it and like words and movements and being able to share those things and I think there's also like the struggle to capture it, which is very valid. Like how do you describe a taste or a smell or like how do you can't really archive or record that except through remembering and then having a collective conversation with others who share that memory, who also know like what what like like tonurnan smells like in the morning, right? Or what like the chon bazaar sounds like, or like what certain smells are in different places. Like I can never ever be able to write it down or paint a picture or capture that. But maybe through some sort of sideways ways of nuance and expression, maybe I can gesture towards that a little bit. And people who also have that memory can like connect with it a bit, or maybe someone else who has a different memory can like also like resonate with it because these things that we think are like incredibly individual, like the smell of bread, like everyone knows the smell of bread in a way. And so there's a human aspect to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And also like I really like that we are so lucky to have Elena and Maria's like support, keep like growing our repertoire actually of these, like all of these performances, this ephemeral geopoetics projects that we're doing. Yes, every time we do everything about geopoetics, we are recording it, but it's also very interesting. It didn't the first geopoetics that we made, it didn't just stop there, and it continued to travel a little bit more. It went to Bangkok, and then it's in New York right now. And when it was in Bangkok, and we got Chinese embassy, like coming in and then trying to censor us, um, it's also another way of look at it. It's like, yes, it's ephemeral, it's very fragile, it's like you know, like it's this like very small initiatives of 5 or 6 artists coming doing something, but it gets so much resonance, you know, like and does it really ephemeral? I don't really know, you know, like I mean, and there's also there's also something really powerful about like having these moments documented. You know, we don't need to document it because I mean, the pleasure for artists, I think it's like when they while they were doing it and then while they were performing it. But because we document it and then we will put it somewhere and then it gets, you know, like some kind of echoes and maybe as Sonia was saying, like it will become something shared and it will probably encourage people to, you know, like do more of this kind of work. So it's like a collective reflection and it's kind of like collective labor, and then it's like really something that we need as a community. Yeah, so I will read one last comment from Mirshat. Hi, Mirshat. I think it's impossible not to keep connections with the connection with the homeland because our hearts and souls yearns for it. But for the tangible part, family, friends, social media, food, and everything else. So he was responding to the question of how we keep connection with the homeland, I think. So I want to thank you so much, and I really want to thank everyone involved in this project, and especially all these amazing artists, and then my friends and my like basically also my extended families now, and also Maria and Elena, like being like really with us and then creating everything from scratch, and we're so grateful. And also for the people who are watching us, tomorrow evening we have another performance, so stay tuned.
Bye-bye. Thank you all. Khosh.
Hi.